Hey, my bougie people, what's going on? So I got a story time for y'all. I just, thought about this little story time. So I thought just maybe I'll run it back and see what y'all think about it. And it's about dating. Y'all, I don't see how y'all be dating. Anywho, so this is a throwback, FYI. So, I was single and, was dating or whatever, wasn't with nobody or whatever. So I met this guy, I was out and about, met this guy, whatever. I was on my phone or whatever, talking or whatever. When I got off my phone, the guy was like, excuse me. I was like, hey. He was like, you're beautiful. And I was like, thank you. And he was like, I see you cheesing ear to ear. That must be your man on the phone. So he gave me that a corny ass line. And I said, no. Sorry, it's got some hair in my mouth. No, it wasn't my man on the phone. I said, I didn't even realize I was smiling on who I was talking to or whatever. I said I wasn't talking to nobody like that. So anyways, he was like, can I have your telephone number? So, sure, I gave it to him or whatever. So I left. So when I left, I want to say probably about an hour later, he sends me like this paragraph of a text message the same day. I'm like, okay, so we paragraph, and it was basically saying just like, oh, you're so beautiful, glad I met you, I was on my way somewhere else, but for whatever reason I came here, so it was meant for me to meet you, blah blah blah, that whole little thing. So me, I was just like, oh, okay, nice to meet you too. And that's all I said. I ain't saying nothing else. Okay, right? So I want to say maybe about 3 days later, 4 days later, something like that. I think it wasn't quite a week. He sent me another text message and said, you could tell he wasn't the type of person that probably, phone or whatever, like he want to get to know you in person. Cool. So he said, hey, would you like to go out for margaritas? I'm not really a big drinker. So I said, sure, why not? I said, when, where, what time? So he said, this evening, if you don't mind, gave me a time and a location. Okay, cool. Now, mind you, he said ish. So he like 4:30-ish, 5:30-ish, 6:30-ish or whatever. So at the time that he said on his ish, I was still at home. And he had shot me a text message, was like, hey, I'm here waiting for you. Let me know when when you arrive. And I said, oh, dang. If you wanted it to be 4:30, 5:30, you should have said that. Don't put ish on it, because to me, that's not a solid time. However, I'm hurrying and I'm on my way. So I get there. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, hey, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. So he like, where? So he's trying to find me or whatever. So, cause he claimed that he was trying to walk to my car. However, when I got out, he was like, get out the car. But when I got out the car, you wasn't walking around the parking lot looking for me. You was standing on the side of the building. Cool. I mean, all you have to do is say I'm at the door. Fine. So we go into the place or whatever. It's a little Mexican joint. And you could tell that he is most definitely a frequent person there. Cause he speaking to them and they know who he is or whatever. He knew exactly where he was going to sit. All the whole 9 yards. Okay, cool. So he orders him a margarita on the rocks, and then he asked me, what do I want? So I said, like a frozen margarita or whatever. What flavor? They had like a whole bunch of flavors. So I was like, just mix it or whatever. So then he was telling me like how he was on keto. So he had cooked at home already, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But I'm about to eat, and I'll pay for my own food. Like, I don't care. Like, that's cool. So the lady brings us a menu or whatever. So I'm looking. So I'm asking him, like, what's good on the menu or whatever. So he's talking about, tacos. And I think he said something about, like, a burrito or whatever. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, okay, is something else good on it? Like, what else? I don't want tacos. Like, I know tacos. Like, what else? You brought me to a Mexican spot. Give me some stuff. But he couldn't really give me nothing. But he claims he's a foodie. However, he must don't know that I'm a real chef in real life. So I go on there and I order me, a couple of different varieties of things. So then, mind y'all, he said he was on keto. And he asked me what did I think about keto. And I was like, well, my doctor said keto is really not a good diet. So then he was like, yeah, but, it gets the job done, this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm not knocking what you do. That's on you. So I didn't think he was going to eat no food. I thought he was going to eat the margarita. I was going to eat my food. I was going to drink my frozen margarita. We was going to chat it up. Negative. He orders 3 tacos. And I'm thinking like, dude, didn't you just tell me you was on keto? But I'm minding my business. So we sitting there talking. I was just kind of quiet because when I got married, to me, my ex-husband wore a mask. He basically fed off of what I said, and he tried to become that man, and it didn't work out. Anyways, so I decided that I was just going to be quiet and let this man talk to me versus me talking to him. So, he just, mouth going a mile a minute. However, and maybe I'm wrong, when I know facts, I'm going to speak on them. I'm going to correct you when I know facts. Not my opinion, but when I know facts. So he was saying a few things, and I was correcting him on those things. And, so he tried to tell me like, oh, you don't know something about this, that, and the other. And I said, sir, I wouldn't speak on my opinion. These are facts. And I can tell you how they are facts or whatever. So that kind of went right under the bridge or whatever. So, because we was talking about gun laws and stuff like that. So anyways, so that was the first thing. So then he asked me, what did I do for a living? So I'm not too quick to tell people what I do for a living. So, I always tell them that I am a personal chef. I do say that or whatever. So, because I am a small business owner or whatever. So he was like, oh, so you have clients and do you cook for them every day? So, he asked me different stuff about that or whatever. And I was like, I'm just explaining to him what I do or whatever. So he was like, so you do that every day? And I said, well, when I'm hired, yes. What do you do for a living? So he told me, but he didn't tell me. He was like, because you ain't really tell me what you do. And I'm like, but I did tell you what I do. I told you I was a personal chef. So I'm confused. So we went on, now he want to kind of get boisterous, say, that he has, bought a couple of houses, and one of his house, the house he lives in now is a smart house, and he ride motorcycles and yada, 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 yada. Okay. I've never been that girl ever, even as a teenager. That stuff don't flatter me at all. Like, I'm not flattered by flashiness. I'm not flattered by how much money you got. I want to know what's up here and what's here and how you going to treat me. That's what matters to me. So he goes on or whatever to, keep talking or whatever. So like I said, the whole time he was controlling the conversation, which was fine by me because I want to know who you are. And I can't know who you are so I'm just listening to what you're saying. So then he goes on to say, the conversation was so superficial, y'all. Like, no meat and potatoes. Just very fluffed, in my opinion. So then he went on to say something on the lines of something about the weather. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was talking about the weather. And I was like, on what day? When? What? No, that wasn't the weather. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I said, no, it wasn't. He tried to tell me that it was cold. And I was like, no, it's not. It was hot. And he was like, no, it was cold. And I said, no, it wasn't. It was hot. So he was like, but you was in the car and I was on a motorcycle. So that's what made the difference. So I was like, okay, like, maybe that's a Libra in me because you just can't just tell me. I'm sorry. You just can't tell me anything. I'm not going to go. But I'm running out of time. Stay tuned for part 2, y'all.